Thanks for joining us. You're still on The Press, reaching you live from our Abuja studios. And joining us now is Dr. Law Mefor, a media consultant. Good morning.
Morning, Mercy.
Good morning, Dr. Law. All right, before we move forward, I'd like to tell our viewers at home that our phone lines will be on to take in your calls. But please remember to turn down the volume of your TV set or step away from your TV set before you call in, and ensure that you stick to our time, 60 seconds, that's 1 minute, please. All right, now let's move to the issues of the day from some of our national dailies. This morning, no ex-governor with corruption cases will escape probe. That's a new telegraph, and that's coming from EFCC. And they've gone further to say their core mandate remains then Senate to involve anti-graft body in CBN 250 billion naira gas funds probe. I'd like to get your opinion in all of these two things at the same time.
You know, some organizations should be seen and not heard. You work from background. Security agencies, you know, media war is not for them. You know, occasionally you can have your spokesman come out to say one or two things, issue some clarifications, but action should speak for you. Do you understand that? You know, the American would say, walk the talk. Do you understand that? Even when and where you are criticized, what you do is to reply by action. EFCC should be one of them. Unfortunately, EFCC has been more enmeshed in what we call media trial. They go to the media, and that is why they have lost majority of the cases they took to court, because convictions are not secured in courts based on public opinion. You know, it must be evidential. You have to really prove, you know, and that is what we really what the judges are there to see. Show me if you, and he who alleges must prove. Must prove, yeah. You know, so when EFCC says they must probe every ex-governor, that none of them would escape probe, I don't understand what that means. We want to see the convictions. That's what we're interested in. We want to see, you know, that you have done a watertight case, you have proved the case, and the judge's hands are tied. The judge will have no choice other than to convict. That is what we want to see. But you don't get much of that. I think since 1999, EFCC was established, I think, in 2001, there around, you know, under President Olusegun Obasanjo, as he then was. You know, and thereafter, ICPC followed. We haven't seen much. What you hear from EFCC is, I have talked about media trial, and beyond that also, there are methods that they have employed that are so unorthodox, so unnecessary, unwarranted, what you call plea bargain. You know, collecting part of the money and letting the criminals to go and enjoy their loot. You know, that is for me very unfortunate. EFCC is not a revenue generation agency. It's an anti-corruption agency. They are not there to make money for the federal government. Even the money they have collected, there is no accountability. Nobody knows how much has been collected and from who. Do you understand what I'm saying? Since they started the commission, you cannot tell how much they have collected in terms of money, terms of properties, and so on and so forth, and how those monies and properties have been disposed of. You even have very serious issues as per what they are really going out for. I think what they are trying to do is to create the impression that corruption is being fought and not to actually fight corruption. Let me give you an example with the governors they talked about. The governors fought their election cases with public funds. That is corruption in itself. Has the EFCC been able to question that? You elected a governor or rather declared a governor by INEC, and your challengers have gone to court to say that your declaration is invalid. What that means is that even though you have been sworn in, you are not yet settled, because your election's validity is yet to be settled. They use state government funds. The presidents from 1999 used the federal government funds to fight for their own case to stay in office. You know, this is the kind of thing I expect EFCC should be looking into. Is the governor supposed to surcharge the state, dip hands in the state coffers to fight for his own electoral victory? It's not supposed to be his corruption. EFCC is not looking in that direction. You know, if you look at it, like I said, the agency is there essentially for what I want to see as symbolic gesture, just to create the impression that something is being done. What they talked about regarding the CBN, 250 billion, is it only that? You have much more. Do you understand that? Before Mefor was eventually dragged to court, remember, it was not the EFCC that took on Mefor. It was the DSS for financial crimes. Do you understand what I'm saying? Where was EFCC? Under Bauer. You get the point? Where was EFCC when Mefor desecrated all the ethics of monetary systems that he was superintending as the governor of the central bank? Where was EFCC? It was the DSS that waded into it for political reasons, even because he was more or less trying to get at Mefor for probably the economic policies, you know, not even the hardships. You know, the President Bola Tinubu, even when he was complaining, even when he was campaigning, complained that Mefor's Naira recoloration policy was targeted at him. So for me, the fact that EFCC is not the one that went for Mefor, I saw the action of DSS more or less as a vendetta war. Do you understand that? Now, even when they did most of the discoveries, they now passed the prosecution to the final prosecution to EFCC. Do you understand that? I use that as an example for you to see that they are not really on top of the job. They are not. They are not on top of the job, and they are there mainly as a political tool to hound, you know, opponents of people who are in power. There are people. There are cases. How about the Senate President Ababio? His case is is more than 5 years.
And you know, even the funny thing now is that the same National Assembly has called the EFCC and ICPC to actually checkmate the 250 billion fund. And now, if they're saying if you're an ex-governor and you have issues with, you've had issues with EFCC, and then they're going to call you back, where does that leave the former governor, that's Akpabio himself? That's
the point I'm making. I know that EFCC, Akpabio has a very fat file in EFCC, and nobody knows what has happened to that. The last time he was invited, he feigned that he was sick and that was it. And that was years ago. And you know, like Adams Oshomole told us when he was the national chairman of APC, he told Nigerians and the world that once you enter APC, your sins are forgiven. And that's exactly the trend. No matter how dark your past is, enter the APC, and it's over.
Is it just
you
the
become
APC,
as white as the snow.
If you enter any ruling political party?
Yeah, for now you say APC, so we are talking about APC. That's it. You know, and of course, the trend is actually a continuation of what happened with EFCC since its creation, when the PDP created the EFCC, and of course used it as a political tool. That's the truth. You know, so if you really want to fight corruption in Nigeria, you have to really allow EFCC to work. I believe that, you know, the constitution of EFCC you know, the trend has been that EFCC will have to be headed by a policeman. You know, it was only Bauer that wasn't a policeman that headed the EFCC. The rest, we came from the police. You know, I don't think that is right. You know, we have many Nigerians that are fearless, bold, courageous, above board. They don't need to be coming from any security agency to head the EFCC. Do you understand that? If you go to other countries, it's not like that. The job of the EFCC, yes, it is investigative. Yeah, but the chairman of EFCC doesn't need to be an investigator. Do you understand what I'm saying? The head of operations, yes, I agree, must be trained in investigation. But that is about all. The head of EFCC is the one to bring what you call healthy public image. Do you understand that? One who will be there on behalf of Nigerian people. One who will be able to bring about what we call political will and leadership, not investigation. So, if we need to change the EFCC Act to open up the recruitment process to bring in Nigerians that are courageous, you know, men with integrity, to come and bring and cleanse the place and bring some sanity into it. That is just it. For me, EFCC as constituted will not give us what we want. And their method, I talked about plea bargain. Look, a country like UK can spend £1 billion to prove a case of fraud of even £1,000. You can see that the idea is to fight corruption and not to collect money. No, that's not the issue. You see, I believe in the principle of using the sledgehammer to kill a fly. Do you know why? When you use the sledgehammer to kill a fly, right? Yes, it appears outlandish, right? But other flies around, seeing what has happened, will not venture. So that is why you have to come heavily down on corrupt officials in the country. Now, we keep hearing that if you fight corruption, corruption will fight back. It's not true. You are not fighting corruption properly. Now you are shielding them from public opprobrium by not telling us who you have collected money from, by not telling us how much you have collected, by not telling us where the money you have collected is. You have joined the slaves. You are part of the problem. And you know, in psychology, any offense that is not punished is likely to reoccur. It becomes actually a positive reinforcement. So when you do plea bargain, all you are saying is that still more, all you need to do is to bring part of it and keep the rest.
Keep the rest. But I like the fact that you mentioned the plea bargain. Do you think, because we had guests, I think, over the weekend, then someone said if Emefiele had paid the 300 million bill, then there would have been questions about where he, of course, got the money from. But then at the end of the day... It was not asked, a bail condition is to be met. You know, Mefor is not necessarily going to deposit 300 million naira cash there. No, it's not the process. But then he wasn't even still able to meet it. But do you think if he had met it there, that would have generated another issue for him? He's not the one to meet it. Do you understand that? Okay. You know, his political associates should be able to guarantee that, because what the court actually wants is a guarantee. For example, a political associate of his should be able to deposit something like a post-dated check with the court register. Do you understand that? Registrar. You know, once you are able to do that, you don't necessarily have to bring that cash, but the money has to be guaranteed somehow. The reason is if you jump bail. Do you understand what I'm saying? He can meet those conditions if actually he has people he helped that really believe in him. But you know, in Nigeria, once you get to this kind of sorry pass, sorry becomes your name. You know, all the people you made will just run away, because one is that if you show up
you must prove the source of your own income. That money you are depositing. What is the source? Otherwise, EFCC will come for you as well. So those are many, look, let me tell you, over 90% of Nigerian millionaires and billionaires made in the last 20 to 30 years all came from government money. Do you understand that? Check all of them. No matter how big, the so-called trillionaires, check their background. They are all coming from government. You know, it's either you are a front to people in government, or you are ex this, ex that, and ex everything else. You are a retired managing director of a bank, and you are now a trillionaire. How? How? How much was your salary? Do you understand what I'm saying? You know, it shows you the kind of economy you run. I saw a recent release where the 10 most prosperous conglomerates in Nigeria, companies in Nigeria, where the list was released. Out of the 10, $1 trillion firms we have in Nigeria, 7 of them are banks. I'll forward it to you. 7 out of 10 leading organizations, business empires in Nigeria are banks. How? How is that possible? It's because banking in Nigeria is not what banking ought to be.
Speaking about that, I like that.
It's not what banking ought to be.
You take us to our next question, which is, of course, about the 2024 budgets.
Yeah.
Speaking about banking and funds.
Yes.
According to The Nation, the Minister of Finance, that's Wale Edun, said something. He said our federal government will tackle the budget 2024 deficit. And of course, yesterday, what was trending was the 2024 budget. People were trying to analyze, break it down, the health, the security aspect, the education part. But then it said, something that caught my attention is where people have said that Nigerians are not bothered about the figures, about some exorbitant rate or whatever price we people put to it. But then, so far, we are able to afford bread and rice. I'm quoting what the person said. But then, do you actually think the layman was put into consideration in this budget?
I saw the budget.
Okay.
You know, I didn't listen to the president, but I later read his speech.
Okay.
And fairly inspiring. But the president's speech, I couldn't find the optimism he was expressing on the figures, on the paper. I couldn't say. Let me give you an example. You know, you have 3 major components of this budget. You have the capital expenditure, recurrent expenditure, and of course, debt servicing, right? You know, recurrent expenditure is 9.9 trillion, almost 10 trillion, right? Capital expenditure is 8.3, right? Trillion.
Mm-hmm.
And the debt servicing is 8.7. Now, there is something fundamentally wrong with this budget. And I'll tell you. If you want to talk in terms of rejigging, redirecting Nigerian national life to move us towards what the country ought to be, the first thing you have to tackle is not just the ease of doing business, but the cost of doing government business. As long as the current expenditure is way, way higher than capital expenditure, you ain't going nowhere. If you check from 1999 to date, there has been no budget that was implemented in Nigeria more than 50 to 60%, especially where it comes to capital budget, right? Yeah. Now, what that means is that whereas government will even go beyond 100% in the implementation of recurrent, do you understand that? Recurrent expenditure, it will not go even up to 50% in implementing capital expenditure. I'll tell you the implication. Recurrent expenditure is about the cost of running government. Number one on that recurrent expenditure is salary, which claims up to 60% of the entire thing. Salaries of who? Civil servants and political office holders. Do you understand that? The masses are not involved in it. Where you find the masses is in the capital project, because that is where you talk about schools, talk about roads, talk about health, talk about infrastructure and social amenities. And yet you will not implement it. In fact, there was a time implementation of capital budget, I can't remember the year, was as low as 20%. What that means is that whereas they will always find enough money to finance the aspect that concerns government appointees, elected and appointed, the one where the masses will not benefit from will be implemented just to a paltry 20%.
Okay, let's quickly take this call. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for calling Elder Zion. Please join in on the conversation.
Thank you, Mercy.
Yes.
The other day you was annoyed that I called you again. So I'm sorry.
No, I wasn't angry actually.
Okay, thank you. God bless you. My brother, Mr. Mefor, God bless you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I will start by commenting on the budget.
Okay.
It's something to thank God of. At least we have had a budget before the expiration date given by the government. And the opening sum of 27.5 trillion was to be disbursed within 2024. You see, it is not the amount that was budgeted that matters. It is implementation. And if you can listen to some high level analysts, what they are talking since yesterday or day before yesterday about this project, you find out that it appears the government was not even very serious to see to the welfare of the people. You see, so that all the same, myself, I'm hoping that things will go well. That this time around, the budget will be implemented at least up to 50% level. Because we have not been getting 50%. And again, we still pray that the government will generate enough resources to meet this demand. Having said that, I want to remind the government and all Nigerians about the calamity that is ahead coming to the world, the Middle East crisis. Other countries are now preparing because surely it is going to escalate. If it escalates today, what will Nigeria do? How will Nigeria protect our people? The hard condition we are facing today will be doubled many times. So it will pay us more if our government, mainly President Tinubu, will come down and they fill the home sector. Because the fuel that causes us problem, if there is crisis today in the Middle East, we will suffer. Fuel will sell up to 2,000 or 3,000 naira per liter, and they are in Nigeria too. Tinubu should forget foreign investors. Nobody invests in a climate, in an environment that corruption, insecurity, insincerity of government. Nobody. The people is proving me right. Tinubu himself, he has got the capacity to invest in Nigeria. He can build refineries. Tinubu is one of the richest Nigerians. Let him start investing. Our Igbo people say in the proverb, the bereaved start crying before sympathizers will join him.
All right,
Let him start investing.
Okay.
God bless Nigeria.
Thank you, Elder Zion.
God bless Nigeria.
God bless Nigeria.
It is well,
Amen.
and it continue to be well. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Elder Zion.
Yeah, I agree with the Zion mostly. It's not the figures.
Okay.
Those are not the issues. The fundamentals are simply a repetition of what has always been. And like I say often, Nigerian budget has become what I call ritualistic redundancy. You know, it's just to fulfill all righteousness. Because even though it is a law, an appropriation act is a law, and actually not only actionable but also punishable upon violation. But of course, you have a weak, docile National Assembly that uses oversight functions as an opportunity to go and collect their own money from the ministries, departments, and agencies. That is what is going on. One of the three statutory responsibilities of the National Assembly is oversight. Oversight is to ensure that executive arm is implementing the Appropriation Act according to the prescriptions, right? According to the law that it has become. An Appropriation Act is a law. But they don't do that. They are themselves contractors. So when you descend into the arena and join the executive on the table to share the turkey, you can't turn around to question what happened. You ate part of it. That's what has happened to Nigeria. So the quintessence of the principle of separation of powers that has brought into the equation the three arms of government, the legislature, executive, and the judiciary. It has not been allowed to really play out because the legislature, rather than assert itself as an arm that should be there on behalf of the people, joined the executive. So that's the problem. Do you know that this, we talk about the EFCC, ICPC, Code of Conduct Bureau as anti-corruption agencies. The number one anti-corruption agency is the National Assembly. Through oversight function.
Now that you've mentioned it,
yes.
Remember that when the EFCC chairman was invited over by the National Assembly, he made mention of something about anti-graft law starts here right now, and that was him referring to the National Assembly. Yeah,
but he was right, because many of the people he's looking for are seated there. I recall one retired DIG that was a senator. He said, look, some of you don't investigated you over crime, and you're seated there. It's on record. A retired DIG, I think from Niger, can't remember his name now, said, I, as DIG, investigated some of you. I did investigate some of you, so I know you. So you see, you have a system that has become a peculiar mess, you know, and we don't even know where to begin in cleansing it, because you need the three arms of government to work robustly. They have to work in way and manner as to act as checks and balances. That's the way presidential democracy works. But if you have the three arms behaving and carrying on as if they are now fused into one, the people are stranded. Do you understand what I'm saying? If you look at it now, we are saying all eyes on judiciary. Why are we saying that? Because judiciary is no longer playing the role as they ought to be. Again, you don't also blame them totally. The way I keep saying, you don't blame the police for not functioning well, because the structural imbalance is a problem. Even their remuneration is yet another problem. You know, see, it's only in Nigeria that you will find, you will train somebody, giving uniform, giving gun, call him a policeman, and send him out on an empty stomach. So when he uses the gun to collect 20 naira, you turn around to say corruption. Why didn't you pay him a living wage? Do you understand what I'm saying? When the immediate retired Supreme Court judge, Datijo, told us about the salary of the Supreme Court judge, 700,000. Supreme Court. Do you understand what I'm saying? Supreme Court judge earns 400,000 naira, 500,000 naira, 700,000. You know, some of these things are unthinkable. And you believe there will be no corruption in the judiciary. You have not set the template properly. If you know those things that will induce the judges, you take care of them. That way you'll be able to deal with corrupt judges. Otherwise, they will use the structure to enrich themselves and ask you, sack me. Do you know what they do with the election cases? Judges bribe to be posted to tribunals. Why? Because they will make money there. You know, so it has become what psychologists call means end inversion. You know, you want omelette, but you don't want to break egg. It's not. It doesn't work that way. Do you understand what I'm saying? A Supreme Court judge should have a house built for him by government as a retirement benefit. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying.
I get you.
You know, there are things, packages that you must put in place. A high court judge, I saw one magistrate on Okada.
All right, please hold that on.
On Okada, a magistrate.
Let's quickly take this call, Dr. Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning. Please, your name and where you're calling from.
Yeah, I'm calling from Nasarawa State. My name is Christian.
Okay, all right, please.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes.
Yes, good morning, sir.
I think that our analyst is doing a very fantastic job today.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
I share his perspective. I share the perspective of the analyst today. I think that the National Assembly is supposed to be the watchdog. It is supposed to be the watchdog, and unfortunately, the National Assembly is behaving as if it is an extension of the executive, which is very unfortunate. As much as we believe and agree that there is need to collaborate, support, and encourage the president, the National Assembly should be able to have, alternative perspective to the thinking of the executive arm of government, so that we can have a balanced view. But in a situation where all of us become press fingers, then where is the role of watching over? The role of a watchdog over the commonwealth of the country. So this is making us laughable before the international community. It means we don't know exactly what our roles and responsibilities. Where we need to support the president, where we need to agree with the president, where we need to concur with the president, we should concur. But where we should be able to give an alternative perspective, so that we have a balanced view. We should give him a balanced view, so that we have a balanced view. The greatest challenge, all the social economic challenges we're having in this country is hinged on the economy. When people are not prospering well, when people cannot eat well, when people cannot sleep at home, when people cannot pay their children's school fees, where children of people are being kidnapped, what do you expect? That's why you see corruption. People are being corrupted because they want to take care of their children. But when we have a fair system where everybody's needs are taken care of, where you can pay your children's school fees, where you can provide for your family, you have a reasonable working condition where you can. And then the economic prosperity of the country is guaranteed. Corruption is taking over. It's over. But where all of us become press fingers, I don't think that we're even being fair to the president. The president has even said in his own words that he's ready to accept constructive criticism, and yet to see the kind of constructive criticism that our National Assembly is providing to the president. Okay. Thank you very much.
It's totally correct. You know, the system is constructed in a way as not to work. Our system promotes corruption. I gave you example with the pay of the Supreme Court judge. If the Supreme Court judge is receiving less than 700,000 naira, how much do you think a magistrate is receiving? I told you I saw a magistrate on Okada. You know, some of these things, apart from the dignity of the office they occupy, it also shows that the condition of service is nothing to write home about. As you do so, what you have done is that you have asked the person to use the office to take care of himself. That's the issue. That's where we are now. And, you know, democracy is erected on a robust opposition. We don't have opposition. No opposition political party. PDP is not one. Labour is not one. We don't have opposition leaders. Atiku is not one. Obi is not one. Say, if you don't have opposition, you can't have democracy. What you have is civil rule. It is that bad. You see, let me give you an example. Labour lawmakers collected the 160 million naira SUV. That was a number one indicator that they are not following the ideology of both the party and the candidate P2B that took them there. Do you understand that? You see, a political party is constructed on a philosophy, on an ideology. So if you say that Nigerians should tighten their belt, that times are hard, roads are bad, and all that, and you are giving unto yourself within the first 1 or 2 months in office as a legislator, an SUV valued at 160 million, you are simply saying that you have joined the looting party. That's what it means, because that money you have taken is not even your car loan. Go and check the allowances of the lawmakers, senators, and House of Reps. There is a car loan. So the 160 million naira is not even for the car loan. There is still that money for the car loan. I want to be corrected if I'm wrong. So you say that everything is simply not right. Now we blame the judges for the cases. Why should the electoral cases go to court in the first place? Do you understand what I'm saying? Nigeria invested over 400 billion in 2023 elections. If you add the amount budgeted for the off-season, well over another 50 billion for the off-season. When you add that, the figure is only rising. And one major thing we did was to bring in the electronic component, the digital component, so that you'll be able to upload your results from polling units from polling units to the viewing center, so that the collation officer will be able to compare and be sure that there is no alteration, and use the beavers also to ensure that there is no overvoting. Is this done? This is a clear provision, an extant provision of the Electoral Act 2022. Go and read section 64 subsection 4. And again, go and look at the electoral guideline of INEC, paragraph 137, where they give effect to that section 64 subsection 4, which says that the collation or returning officer shall announce result subject to verification and confirmation of results uploaded from polling units. Is that done? INEC refuse to do it. They will tell you to go to court. Do you understand what I'm saying? Whereas you collected over 400 billion, out of which you used 105 billion to erect the digital infrastructure. Why did you collect that money if you knew you would not upload? Do you understand that? So you can see that everything is simply wrong. Democracy can't work. It is my view, and I want to be contradicted. The way INEC is, organizing a free and fair election is impossible. It begins from their recruitment. You have 7 new resident electoral commissioners. One of them, the resident electoral commissioner for Akwa Ibom State, was a former chief of staff to the Senate president. Do you understand that? His own state, Akwa Ibom. So you expect my former chief of staff, right, to conduct a free and fair election where I am a candidate? Do you need any law? Do you need the law Do you understand what I'm saying? You don't need any law. In fact, I was looking at the INEC Act. There is no place, there's no provision for the president to appoint resident electoral commissioners and post them. That was what Tinubu did. Tinubu named the states. It has never happened in Nigeria. And you say you have opposition in that National Assembly, in the Senate, where this is happening. You have Labour lawmakers, you have PDP lawmakers, you have YPP. No, they are not there. But they are all part of the party.
Okay, now
we are almost a one-party state even. Do you understand that? A democracy without opposition is a misnomer. It can't happen. It doesn't happen anywhere. Not in Nigeria, not anywhere.
What is the probability that we wouldn't have a rubber stamp on National Assembly?
We have one already. That's what they are. Because it started way back, from Lawan, Senator Ahmad Lawan told us that whatever Buhari brought was right. Even before bringing it, he already approved it in advance. He overruled even dissenting voices and stopped everything Buhari brought. That was how Buhari was able to run Nigeria without any law, without constitution. He trampled on the constitution, trampled on anything. Why wouldn't he? Because the institution to check him is already tucked in his pocket. That was what happened. And where are we? When Buhari left, 77 trillion naira loan. That's what Nigeria owed. Do you know that way and means, passed to Buhari by Mefor, came to the tune of 23 trillion without National Assembly approval? Nigerians need to understand the level of desecration and rot. We have no institutions. You don't have a society because you can't even enforce law and order. You have a police force that is so inadequate, so incapable, poorly paid, poorly trained. The structure is even not there. I keep saying it. Out of the 26 countries of the world that practice what you call federalism, only Nigeria is running a centralized police system. I want to be corrected if I'm wrong. You can run a check on this. And you turn around to say that you have insecurity. Security is local. I had expected that by now, President Tinubu should have set up a technical committee to advise him on how we can implement state and community police. It's inescapable. That is one of the vestiges, one of the structures of a federal system of government, especially the presidentialism. But they don't want all this. They want to maintain the status quo that is not working. And they are propping it up with more loans. Tinubu has now moved the loans we have taken from 77 trillion to over 90 trillion in 6 months. So in 1 year, in 4 years, where will Tinubu leave us? And the reason is simple, is because he met an empty well, to use his own words, a dry, empty well. That's what I meant. But they told you who have our money. Why are you not going after them? You're dumping the frustration on Nigerians. You now moved fuel pump from 197 to 540 to 620, 640. In some places 700 per liter of fuel. What has that done to us? It contracted and depressed the economy. Many of us work from homes now. Those who work, who manage to go to work, can't afford to go to work up to 5 times a week. That is telling you something about the loss of man hour. That loss of man hour is money when you really calculate it. So you discover that whatever you have gained in subsidy removal, you have lost 2-3 times in the depressed economy. And again, Tinubu realized this late. So he didn't want to, at a point when he saw that this was really moving up, he didn't permit NNPC to keep moving up. Do you understand that? He didn't permit NNPC to move up. Okay. What that means is that as we speak, subsidy is back through the back door.
Because well, this is many more is something I would like to probably have a whole day to talk about.
Please find a day. If I'm in town, I'll be glad to be here.
Okay, all right then. Thank you very much, Dr. Lo, for doing it.
The pleasure is always mine.
All right, our viewers at home. This is where we wrap it up for the press for not just today but also this week. Thank you for staying tuned with us, and thank you to our backstage guys, our producers, our master control room guys. Also, thank you to our viewers also for staying tuned. This is where I wrap it up. I remain Messi Babajide. See you same time, same station next week. Bye.